Let's talk to Daniel Cormier, the reigning, defending UFC light heavyweight champion, joins us right now. Daniel, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
So Daniel, you were quiet. Last week was a pretty quiet week. No UFC tonight. Not a lot of media appearances. The Jon Jones interview comes out, and I, and many others were wondering what you thought of it all. So let me just ask you: did you watch the interview?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw the interview, at least parts of it. I thought it was good. Jon seemed genuine. He seems to completely understand what happened and the mistakes that he had made. It seems as though he is his head is in the right place as he moves forward in his career. So, yeah, good for Jon. It was good.
So you're buying what he's selling?
I think as a human being, you have to give people the benefit of the doubt. You don't always be negative. Ariel, even when this thing first started, my thought always was, in terms of Jon the person and life outside of fighting, I was always hoping that he would get stuff right. Not only for himself, but for everyone around him. I've said this time and time again. It seems as though he's done that. And if he's done that, then it makes for life better for him, the person. I'm not even worried about the fighter or anything else. Just the person on a personal level, on a level meaning in life, because of how many people our actions affect. You root for the guy to get it right, if not for himself, but for everyone around him, his children, his fiancé, family, that type of situation.
So in a weird way, you were happy to see him, to hear what he had to say, even though, he was not too complimentary of you and all that stuff. This is good for you. It's good for Daniel Cormier that Jon Jones is on the comeback trail.
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, I don't expect for him to say many positive things about me, and it really doesn't affect me one way or the other. I don't lose sleep because Jon doesn't have the best feelings about me. But the Jon Jones business is back open, and I'm happy to be a part of it. I tell you that much.
It's interesting because sometimes when you talk to him, he doesn't want to give you any kind of credit. He calls you just a pawn. But then when you say some people say that Cormier is the fake champion, he goes, well, he is the fake champion. And then you see it starting to come out. Did you notice that as well? Deep down, it bothers him that you're walking around with that belt. At least that's my assessment.
Yes, I do believe that. I do believe that it could have been someone else, and I don't think it would have affected him very much. But because it was me, or because it is me as the champion, I think it does make it a little bit different because of our past together. But yeah. But even watching this interview, you could tell that there are things that Jon is holding back still a little. You don't know what it is, but no one's completely 100% open in every situation.
Malky was talking about MSG. I asked him about MSG, and he said something very interesting. Just want to play you this quick clip and get your response, all right?
Yeah.
Here we go. Here's Jon talking about fighting Daniel Cormier potentially at Madison Square Garden. Could you imagine April 23rd at MSG?
I don't, you heard Daniel say he didn't want to fight me there.
Sure.
I think that's the most cowardly attitude ever. If he honestly felt like he was going to beat me, if he honestly felt like he had it in his heart to beat me, he would fight me anywhere. The fact that the small excuse of where we're fighting is in his mind, it just shows me that he's not ready to beat me. He's not going to beat me, no matter where we fight. So we might as well fight at the Garden and make a little bit more money, quite frankly. Mm.
So the mind games continue. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there was a point where the UFC they were gonna go to Sweden or something, and they were gonna do the Jones-Alexander Gustafsson rematch or something. And Jon was completely against it because Jon said, "I'm the champion. I should decide where I want to fight." If I'm not mistaken, it was something to that effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same situation. I mean, I don't understand how he can judge me differently than he wants to be judged himself. It's just. Again, it's just Jon being Jon. It's in those instances that Jon's holding something back a little still, because he knows that. He's very aware of his situation with Alexander. And but then he tells me it's a cowardly way because I said it, whereas when he said it, it was just smart business. Again, sometimes we are who we are.
Have you relented at all? Have they tried to convince you of that? Where do you stand on the whole MSG thing?
I've given them a couple dates that I'd be willing to look at. And, so maybe you guys will know something soon. But I'm going to make my decision as the champion sooner rather than later.
Oh.
Just put it like that.
Is
That's good. I'm going to make my decision as the champion sooner rather than later. My choice.
The cards are in your hands.
I'm the champion.
Sure.
As they should be, right?
So is April 23rd one of the dates that you're considering?
As a fighter, and I've said time and time again, it doesn't. The Garden doesn't really mean all that much to me because I've competed there before. But if I have to be completely honest, obviously, in terms of how historic it would be and how big it would be, obviously, that would be a big deal. Now, for it to be Madison Square Garden, I think, honestly, Helwani, if it is the Garden, April 23rd maybe becomes more intriguing because, obviously, like I said, for historic purposes, it'd be cool to fight in Madison Square Garden, obviously. But, we don't want to really give this guy what he wants, so. But, I guess I'll think about April 23rd.
So I don't know if you pay attention to him on social media and whatnot, but there's always these videos of him working out, getting buff. I mean, he's gigantic. Do you feel like, what do you make of that? Because I see some people criticizing him on his feed, and then he even had to respond to them saying like, oh, my form, don't worry about my form. I'm just, trying to get bigger. I think he's trying to do like 600 pounds or something today. Is this smart for him to be doing this? What kind of, messages as Daniel Cormier do you take away from him trying to bulk up 5 months before a potential fight?
First off, the fight is not April 23rd for sure, so let's stop sitting here as if 5 months is exactly what it's going to be. I said before, I haven't decided, Ariel.
Sorry.
And the weightlifting stuff, honestly, look, Jon said he had some issues before with his alcohol and in drugs. You have to replace that stuff with something, and it seems as though his addiction is not weightlifting, and it's not bad. You replace it with something positive, something that can help you, because maybe he feels that by getting stronger, it's going to make him a better fighter. Reality is, when I saw him getting so bulky as a competitor, I thought, wow, this isn't bad for me. This isn't bad for me as a competitor because the Jon Jones that was kind of skinny and maybe wasn't the bulkiest guy, it all worked, Helwani. It all worked. He was like his body, the way his body was, it worked. It allowed him for range. It allowed him for optimal speed. It allowed him for quickness and agility. Looking at all the extra bulk, to me, I was like, well, maybe this will slow him down. Maybe he won't be the fastest guy. Maybe this guy's messing with what was given to him. In reality is what was given to him has been perfect. The guy's 22-0. He's beat the best guys the world has to offer, some of the greatest fighters of all time, and now he's gotten bigger, So for me as a competitor, I thought, wow, you start messing with the recipe that's actually really, really good. Maybe this opens up the door for some of his competitors.
Do you get the sense that your Jon's sole motivation, like he obsesses over you, that this is why he's bulking up? He keeps thinking about you, wakes up in the morning, goes to sleep, thinks about you. If it was Rumble Johnson with the belt or Gus, it wouldn't be the same. It's because it's you, and that's what's pushing him?
I don't think so. I think what's pushing him is just life, to be better in life. I know that my motivation doesn't come solely from Jon. And you would think it would be me because I'm the one that lost.
Right.
So I know my motivation doesn't come solely from Jones. It's part of it, obviously, but no, I mean, I would not give myself that much credit. This guy doesn't wake up in the morning going, wow, I need to lift 500 pounds because of Daniel. He's doing that for himself. So I think the weights is just, it's, you know, he can't do those things that he was doing before. So you have to substitute it, and he substituted it with something positive. So good for him, I guess.
By the way, last time I spoke to you was right after the Gustafsson fight. Physically, yeah. I'm assuming you're over. It's been 2 months, but like, are you back training, or like, because you took some shots in that fight, right? Did you need to take a break?
Yeah. You know, I've taken a break. I'm still on break. You know what I mean? But I've trained. You know, I don't lift weights and post videos lifting weights, but I'm in the gym every day. You know, I'm still lifting. I still spar and box. I still grapple when I wrestle. I'm just not doing it as if I'm in training camp. So even though a person's taking a break, that doesn't mean that I'm out of the gym 100% of the time, you know? I mean, this has been the greatest break of all time, because not only have I not scheduled a fight, which they usually come pretty fast after a fight. UFC tonight, I hadn't had one in the last 2 weeks, so I'm going to have a 3-week break right around Thanksgiving. Right after my fight, I was off for a week because I was so beat that we were dark for 2 weeks, like 3 weeks. So I've had essentially 6 weeks with my family to just hang out and spend time. So I'm getting to do stuff that I never really got to do because I've been so busy with my fight and TV career. So, yeah, I still train, though. It allows me to be in the gym more now than I've been between fights in a long time.
So while I was in Melbourne, you actually texted me, and it was fascinating to hear your perspective here. You were watching the Chasing Tyson 30 for 30 on ESPN.
Yeah.
And you came to the conclusion that you are Evander Holyfield. Like, you had this epiphany. It almost kind of like blew you away, right? Can you explain why?
It did. It did. You know, I was watching the Chasing Tyson 30 for 30. Great show. And Evander was just this normal guy, you know, lived with his family, and he was pretty calm, you know, and it seemed as though people didn't really draw to him. They didn't draw to the calm. They were drawn to the chaos. The chaos was Mike Tyson, and he constantly got himself into stuff, you know, and people loved him for it, and they just were drawn to him. But Evander just kept plugging away, you know, and even in situations where Mike got himself into stuff with the loss to Buster Douglas, Evander didn't do that. Evander didn't go to Japan or China and force Mike to lose. Mike lost. He didn't train. And Evander became the champion, but he never garnered the respect that he needed until he beat Mike Tyson. And I feel like I'm in the same situation, being that people don't draw to me because it's too much calm. I'm with my family. I hang out. I don't get myself into trouble. I don't do anything wrong to rock the boat. I didn't make John get into trouble in Albuquerque, but because of the circumstances under which I became the champion, I don't get the respect that I feel like I deserve at times. So I will not be able to beat those demons until I get my hand raised in the fight against Jones. So I was watching that, and it was very odd. And then not even a week later, Helwani, I get a private message from, or I get a follow from Evander Holyfield himself on Twitter. So then I direct message him and tell him the story.
Wow.
And kind of explain to him how I felt while watching that. And the response was, just keep your head up, keep doing things the right way, and it'll all work out, champ.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
That is amazing.
Unbelievable. Yeah, unreal.
Kind of gave me goosebumps just now.
Yeah. It was unreal.
Can you imagine if you walk out with Evander, the real deal, walking out at MSG? Yeah. Wouldn't that be something? Holy moly.
One of those, we could get our Reebok shorts made like those little shorts Evander used to dance with at the 24-hour fitness when he was a champ.
Wow. That is something. By the way, congrats on the new contract. Are you happy with it?
Very happy. You know, I went in there and just made my case and got no fight back, nothing. You know, the UFC, they're very happy with the way that I've carried myself in response to being a champion. They're happy with the way that I've carried myself in terms of trying to help build other fights as a commentator in the job that I do at Fox. So I went in there, asked for something. Lorenzo and Dana were very open to it, and we got it done. You know, so it wasn't a fight. It wasn't the guy walking out mad, pissed off. None of that. Just we got it done. So I'm very happy with where I stand and very happy with my new contract with the UFC.
So you expect to retire a UFC fighter?
Yes. Yes. I will retire with the UFC. Got a new long contract. And, you know, at 36 years old, I'm going to fight until I feel it's time for me to walk away. I've said this time and time again, my legacy in the sport means something to me, so I'm not going to hang around just trying to collect paychecks.
Now, be unbiased for me. We're less than 2 weeks away. It's a big one. Your guy, Luke Rockhold, finally gets that crack at the title. Will he win? Do you truly, confidently feel like he's going to beat Chris Weidman on December 12th?
I do. But I watch every day. You know, I get to see him train, and I'm closely tied to what he's doing in the gym. I don't get to see Chris. So based on what I see, I feel 100% confident that he'll get it done. Unless Chris Weidman has made some huge changes to his game, this is a very difficult fight for him. And you know, I'm a Chris Weidman guy.
Yeah.
I've never picked against Chris Weidman once in my career. Chris is a good friend of mine. But I think this is the fight where the matchup just doesn't favor him. I believe Rockhold gets it done.
Wow. And what about Kane saying to me recently in Australia that you've changed? I mean, them's fighting words, right?
He was joking. I mean, if you anyone that watched the interview, he was joking. But for me, honestly, seeing him in that way, Helwani, was refreshing.
Yeah.
Because that's how he acts when he's around his friends. And he's giving the public a little bit more of himself now. You see him more on social media. You see him on the interviews being more open. He's trying to actually open up and let people get to know him. And I think that's good for Kane. So for me, it was refreshing to see him open up as he is with his friends and just kind of give the public a glimpse into to how he is and who he really is. He's always been this really guarded guy, and only because of his intensity. It's not like he doesn't like people. He's just guarded because of he's so intent on, and he's there for a job. You know, now it seems as though as we've gotten older, he's more open to people knowing the real Cain Velasquez, and I think that's very important.
Is it an unwanted distraction that he has left Zinkin, a team that you're very loyal to, management team, and now signed with CAA, or is this just something that we like to talk about and really doesn't change anything?
It doesn't change anything. I think people in the media, in the outside, they always look for something, you know. Sometimes there are slow news days, Helwani. You and I know that from being in the news business. And This is one of those days where a guy like Cain Velasquez has changed his management. Guys change management every day.
Yeah.
He would change management teams every day. But the bonds that we have built within the walls of the American Kickboxing Academy and the friendships are going to carry us through any situation. So nothing's changed. Same exact situation.
Okay, let's end on this. So Jon Jones is back, as you said. The JBJ business is open once again. What do you think the buildup is going to be like? Do you think you'll have like a world tour type of thing? I mean, I can't wait for those stare downs. When you see him for the first time, what do you think that's all going to be like?
Intense.
God, I can't wait.
You know, because it's going to be intense. It's going to be fun. It's going to be intense. Right now, I tell you this much. Very happy to see Jon. Very happy to see Jon doing well, to see that he's gotten his head on straight, and that he seems to be going in the right direction. But just know that as we move forward, I've got a loaded gun that he actually put the bullets in for me. I'm not afraid to shoot it.
Oh, so you're gonna use some stuff on him? Is that what you're saying?
You got to, man.
Oh, man.
You got to.
Oh my, that is going to be fun. By the way, if I can, this whole idea that Dwight Howard, quote unquote, posterized Kristaps Porzingis, my man, the rookie of the year, the MVP of the 20. Who buys posters in 2015? Who makes posters in 2015? They got lucky. They're a mess of a team. They stole one, but that's ridiculous.
As we end this interview, I was honestly going to let you off the hook there.
Ridiculous.
But last night, we started another 10-year streak of beating the Knicks. Last night, for the first time since I was a young boy in Louisiana that saved all of his pennies to buy posters, I got on the internet and ordered the Dwight Howard slamming on KPZ. peasy. He got posterized last night by D.
BS.
White, and it is going up in my house. I want it on the set of the MMA Hour as I send it to you in the mail.
Fair enough. Daniel, I appreciate the time as always. Always great to talk to you, and I'm so very excited for this. Wherever the fight happens, man, you just talking about the bullets and all, woo, it really truly gives me goosebumps. Thanks, my man. I will see you in Las Vegas next week.
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right,
Thanks
there
for
he
having
is. Daniel Cormier, the light heavyweight champion of the UFC.